Let's take a look at these two problems and try to factor them. What is it? 12x squared minus 22x plus 8. Now, we could do the sum and product. What would they be? The sum would be negative 22, and the product would be 8 times 12, which is 96. Now, the number is starting to get a little bit big there, right? The point of this video is I want to tell you that before you even start any type of factoring, the very first thing you should try is to do common factoring. So I want to just write that up here as an important thing to remember, is that always try common factoring before anything else. So always try common factoring first. All right. Now, what do I mean by common factoring? Well, just look, is there anything that's common to all three terms that you can pull to the front? There's x squared here, x there, but no x's there, so we cannot pull out an x to the front. But between 12, 22, and 8, there is a common factor, right? 2. So really we should pull that out first before we try any other technique of factoring. So after we pull out a 2, we get 6x squared minus 11x plus 4, right? And now's when we should try our trinomial stuff. So what's the sum and product here? Well, the sum should be negative 11. And the product should be 6 times 4, which is 24. So what two numbers have a sum of negative 11 and a product of 24? I think we could use 3 and 8, but they both have to be negative. Negative 3 plus negative 8 is negative 11, and negative 3 times negative 8 is positive 24. So let's use our technique of breaking this middle term up. We leave the 6x squared the same. Minus 11x becomes minus 3x minus 8x plus 4. The plus 4 stays the same, right? These are all equal to each other. And now, in this first pair, what can I factor as a common factor there? It's 3x, right? So I pull a 3x out. I get 2x minus 1. How about over here? Well, between 8 and 4, I can pull out a 4. Now, I don't want to pull out a plus 4. I want to pull out a minus 4. And by doing that, I bet you these two brackets are going to match up. Let's think. Negative 4 times what gives me negative 8x? That's a positive 2x. Negative 4 times what gives me a plus 4? That's a minus 1, right? And 2x minus 1 is occurring in both, so I'm happy about that. So I can write these sets of brackets right here and here. I can now drop them when I pull this out front, and I get 2x minus 1 and 3x minus 4. So there we go. So we could have tried to factor it right from the beginning, but the numbers were big, and we would have a factor of 2 that we could have pulled out anyways. So it's best to always pull out your common factor at the start. And that's a piece of advice for any type of factoring. Don't try any technique of factoring until you've tried to pull out a common factor. So let's take a look at B now. We have 12x to the 4 minus 27x cubed minus 27x squared. Let me write this 4 again. What's common here? Well, between 12, 27, and 27, we cannot pull out a 2 like we did over here, because 2 does not go into 27. 27 is odd. But there is a number. It's 3, right? We can pull out a 3 here. So let's pull out a common factor of 3. And how about the powers of x? Well, we can take out the lowest power of x, which is x squared. So we'll do that common factor first before we try anything else. What do we have left over here? We have a 4x squared minus 9x minus 9, right? All right, good. Now, can we make any progress on this? I think we can. Let's do trinomial factoring on this, right? Sum and product. The sum should be what? Should be this number right here, negative 9. And what should the product be? 4 times negative 9, which is negative 36. What two numbers have a product of negative 36 and a sum of negative 9? I think that would be 12, and we can use 12 and 3, We'll make the 12 negative and we'll keep the 3 positive. Let's check if that's right. Negative 12 times positive 3 is negative 36. Negative 12 plus 3 is negative 9. So this 3x squared is just going to trail along for the entire ride. I'm going to be working inside these brackets, though, just using the techniques we've learned before. The 4x squared stays. Minus 9x breaks up into minus 12x plus 3x. And then the minus 9 stays still as well. Now I look at these two pairs, and I factor each of them individually. So 3x squared, again, is recopied. Between 4x squared and minus 12x, I can pull out a 4x. And I would have x minus 3 in brackets. Between the 3x and the 9, I can pull out a positive 3. And I would have x minus 3 in brackets again. I say to myself, I have x minus 3 in both of those. That's a sign that everything's going good. And I can now pull that out as a common factor. And when I do that, I'm going to drop these outer sets of brackets right here that I don't need anymore. So let's see what happens when I do that. I get x minus 3 coming to the front. And in these brackets, I have 4x plus 3 staying behind. And there's my answer for there. So again, the point of this video was just to remember this, that you always want to try to pull out a common factor first before you do anything. We could have tried trinomial factoring in part A right away, but the numbers, as we saw, were big, and after we pulled out the 2, the numbers became smaller and they're more easy to handle. And here, this is not even a trinomial. Well, it does have 3 terms, but in the sense of trinomial factoring, it doesn't work. But after I pull out my common factor of 3x squared, then the thing in brackets now is a trinomial where I can use my sum and product technique. So the moral of this video, again, just remember, take out your common factor as your very first technique of factoring, and then work on, and then see if some other techniques of factoring can break it down even further.